Welcome in, Dween Nation. We are the Dween Sports Podcast, and we are just about to get started. But before we do, we'd love if you could like, comment, subscribe, and share so we can continue to be your fantasy sports podcast. Thanks for being part of Dween Nation, and enjoy the show. Welcome in, Dween Nation. This is your host, Justin Paez, alongside Genoa Agudelo, and today is our starts and sit show for Week 4 of the fantasy football season. Drop below kind of how have been doing through the first three weeks. Are you undefeated? Have you not gotten your win? Are you mixed? Doesn't matter where you are. You're still in it to win your fantasy championships, to make the playoffs. You just got to keep fighting. Use this knowledge. Last week we killed it, by the way, in our starts and sits. I think I only had one off. I think I had Kyle Pitts. He didn't do well, but you were on fire. You had Drake May, Jordan Mason, TJ Hawkinson. You had Marvin Harrison as a sit. So a good week for us with predictions. We're going to keep it up big time. But before we do, how you doing, Genoa?
Yo, Dween Nation. Justin, yes, I got burned by Zay Flowers at my wide receiver, and then I think I had Prater as my kicker. He didn't really do all too well on Thursday night, as some of you guys out there let us know pretty quickly, and I'm sorry. I may have jinxed Matt Prater. I have him in a league, Justin, and I was thinking of dropping him. But anyways, guys, I'm doing good. For me, I'm like middle of the pack in fantasy this year, like a little bit going into like tier A. I have one really bad league that we are like our last league that we drafted on here on YouTube. It's not going so well, but I'm 1-2. We're still fighting, Justin. We still got 10 more weeks approximately until playoffs start for fantasy football. So this is gonna be a fun 10 weeks. And it's a drama show, guys. Every Sunday through Monday, it is a drama show because, guys, we want to win our match.
Yeah, and I know for a lot of teams, and definitely in our league, our uncle's league is what we call it. I was the champion last year, but this past week I just had the injury of CeeDee Lamb and James Conner, so I'm gutted right now. And that happens. It happens in leagues, but it doesn't mean hope is lost. And we're here to help you with your starts and sits. If you were curious about waivers, we had a TikTok about that, as well as buy low and sell high candidates. Guys, you need to go look in the trade market for. So check those out as well on TikTok. We got rankings, everything going through there. But let's dive into our starts and sits here. My quarterback start of the week, Jordan Love. Yours is Jared Goff. And I'll actually let you start this time. Why do you like Jared Goff this week?
Justin, I love Jared Goff this week because, number one, this is the most important thing when it comes to Jared Goff. He is playing in Detroit, in home. He's a great home quarterback. And I just love the matchup, right? When Jared Goff and these Lions teams, they play a low-end team that's, probably going to pick top five in the draft, they absolutely smoke them. Think about last year where they played Tennessee and Jacksonville at home, smoked them. I mean, think of this 2 weeks ago where they played Chicago at home and just kept pouring it on, kept just throwing the football. And so Jared Goff at home and Dan Campbell, a hot victory coming off in Baltimore on the road. They kind of won that game through rushing with Gibbs and Montgomery. Jared Goff didn't have to do much, but now when they get to Detroit, he's going to be throwing all over the field. Amon-Ra St. Brown has to be the hottest wide receiver in football right now. He's got to be the most electric fantasy wide receiver, in my opinion. There's a few others, but he is off a tear right now. He didn't do that good, I think, week 1, but ever since then, he's been phenomenal, getting into the end zone. And when he's at home, he is a great receiver. Jared Goff is always looking to him. And then you might get some Laporta. You might get some Jameson Williams. How about this Tesla guy with the long blonde hair? I mean, he's like Edelman 3.0. I mean, there's been a few before, but this guy's also could be good. And then they have another tight end that I think his name is Wright. Is it Brandon Wright?
Brock
Wright. Yeah, and so then you got to factor that even Gibbs can get you a receiving touchdown. So I love all this for Jared Goff at home against Cleveland. Dan Campbell's going to want to pour it on, and it's just a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, no, there's a couple things that go into why I love this pick for you. For one, you're right. When they play bad teams, they run up the score on them. They don't care, to sit their starters. They're just going to play their game all the way through, and I think that's going to happen here, similar to what Cleveland did against the Ravens in week 2, where Baltimore just kept kind of putting points on the board. I think the Lions are going to do the same. And then you discuss the matchup, and I think that's really the biggest thing as to why Jared Goff might have another top 5 quarterback performance, because if you look at how good this Cleveland Browns rushing defense has been, week 1, they played the Cincinnati Bengals, and Chase Brown ran for 2 yards a carry. Then we go into week 2, and everybody remembers Derrick Henry, 2.3 yards per carry. He had only like 2 points on the day. It was an awful game for him. Last week, Josh Jacobs had 1.9 yards per carry against the Cleveland Browns. It was just not a good day, and they're just so good at guarding the running back position. And with that, Jared Goff's going to step up with his weapons that he has aplenty. I think Gibbs is still a good start. Montgomery is still a little bit of a hesitant play. I know he killed it against the Ravens, but I think Jared Goff has all the weapons in the passing game, and they're going to have to pass the ball because the running game is not going to get going. So I love Jared Goff there. We'll move to me. Jordan Love is my quarterback start of the week. Yes, he doesn't have Jaden Reed. Yes, Tucker Kraft, played a little bit hobbled last week, but he's playing. Matthew Golden's there. Romeo Doubs is there. Dontavian Wicks is there. They still have most of the regular cast of characters, but they play the Dallas Cowboys, who are right now 32nd against the quarterback position. They have been just awful guarding quarterbacks. Last week we had Caleb Williams finish as the quarterback 1. Week 2 we had Russell Wilson finish as the quarterback 2.
Yeah.
And then Jalen Hurts had a good game as well in week 1. So the Cowboys defense has just been horrendous. And Jordan Love, if you remember, he's only played the Cowboys once in his career. It was a playoff game where he was not expected to win the game, and he had over 270 yards, 3 scores. It was in AT&T Stadium, and that's where we get the story here on Sunday Night Football. So I love Jordan Love this week.
Yeah, Justin, I absolutely love this matchup. Looking at the practice reports as they're being submitted as we talk right now during this time of day, NFL practice reports are being finalized for the day. It's looking like every one of the healthy outside of, Jaden Reed, who's on IR, but they're still, they're all looking healthy. You got Matt Golden, Romeo Doubs, who I think is a sleeper this week. Dontavian Wicks, Tucker Kraft he's probably one of the best tight ends this year so far through 3 weeks. And they always have someone random, a Malik Heath, a John Fitzpatrick. And then, you got the running game of Josh Jacobs. And I just feel like Jordan Love, he has a phenomenal matchup. He's playing in Dallas, bright lights, Sunday Night Football. And I like it. In this Dallas defense, they've been passed on all over outside of the exception of week 1 against Philly. But if you know anything about the Eagles, Justin, they're just going to outrush you and milk that clock with that defense. But other than that, week 2, Russell Wilson, he absolutely aired it out on this defense. And then last week, Caleb Williams, 4 touchdowns. He was phenomenal. And now they get a home matchup with historically these Cowboys. They lose to the Packers. So I love it. I love Jordan Love as your start of the week, Justin, and I like it. I might want to trade for Jordan Love now that I think about it.
Yeah. I also had him as a buy low player for fantasy football because he had a horrendous week against the Browns last week. They only put up 10 points. And I think that with the schedule he has lined up, he's going to be good. So we are both loving some love. We'll move to running backs where I have J.K. Dobbins as my start of the week. He is quietly been by far the lead back. I know a lot of people are hyped about R.J. Harvey, and I do think as the season continues, he will get more and more usage. But right now, it is the J.K. Dobbins show. His snaps per game and snap share has gone up. He started at 53% in week 1, while Harvey was at 29. Then it went down. Dobbins was 45% to Harvey's 33. But then something changed last week, and Dobbins was up at 67% of the snaps. So he really just took over. He was able to get in the end zone. He's been super efficient. And they play the Cincinnati Bengals. You can't ask for a much better matchup than that. So I'm going to have Dobbins in my starting lineup this week.
Yeah, Justin, he pretty much averages a touchdown a week. He has 3 touchdowns already through 3 weeks of the season, and he's got 222 yards, and he's leading this backfield through 3 weeks. With 41 carries, and the second one is R.J. Harvey with only 13 carries. You got to remember, J.K. Dobbins was a beast in Baltimore. Really good last year with the Chargers after a couple, major knee surgery. So we're not surprised that he's doing that. It's just like, can he stay healthy? And honestly, if he's healthy all year, Justin, he is no doubt a great flex play, a really good RB2, really solid if you have 3 great wide receivers. You know what I'm saying? And so I think J.K. Dobbins is a great play this week. And I do like the matchup. I just think, with Denver, Cincinnati is able to be carved on. I think they're at home Monday night. I like it. For me, Justin, I'm going to go right into it and talk about Cam Skattebo. I love what I saw on Sunday Night Football. You see, unfortunately, Tracy goes out. I want to say it was the end of the first, beginning of the second quarter kind of thing. And then Skattebo, he just showed, line up against one of the greatest defensive tackles of this generation, and Chris Jones. He showed no fear. One of my favorite linebackers in the league, George Karlaftis from the Chiefs, he was not scared at all. He's a rookie, 3rd career game, hasn't started a game, Sunday Night Football at home. And it's exciting to see what the Giants have going forward. Yes, I'm seeing that Malik Neighbors is on injury report. We'll see if he plays. But, You still have a rookie quarterback that is now going to be starting for New York. I like a lot of PPR play for Scadaboo, some dump off passes. And if it's in crunch time, maybe because there's going to be, this is a rookie running back matchup there in MetLife between Scadaboo and Hampton. So it's going to be a duel there. I mean, if you guys have Scadaboo and Hampton in your lineup with some good receivers, maybe Ibuka, man, your team is rolling right now. I would love to have your team. But I would say Scadaboo is a great play. Now the Chargers defensive is a little bit tight, but I just still think that Scadaboo is the number one guy there. I'm not really worried about Singletary. I think that Brian Dable knows, hey, I need to use all my rookies. Let's roll my dice here. We're 0-3. I could be fired in a couple weeks if we don't look impressive. Let me get my 2 rookies involved. I got Dart starting, and now I'm going to have Scadaboo. And I like him to have a good game at home.
Yeah, I think that there's a possibility that Giants could be on upset alert to upset the Chargers possibly. I think Cam Scadaboo is that special, like the next top 10 running back. Like he just looks the part. He can catch the football as well. I know he's a big kind of strong, bulky back, but he can catch the football, man. He got 6 catches last week, and now with Tyrone Tracy unfortunately out with injury, and he's going to miss the next month probably. Scadaboo is just going to be the guy getting probably 20 touches a game. And you're right. I love that you mentioned the PPR upside for him because Jackson Dart, obviously now Russell Wilson is benched, so he is the new starting quarterback. They're playing the Chargers, which is kind of a middle-range defense. They've had really good performances. They can be had, though. Like we saw Dobbins go for 7.5 yards a carry last week. We saw Sutton at over 100 yards in a score. So they can be had. And I think that Dart's going to just, they're still going to get pressure on Dart in this offense. He's going to have to check it down to Scadaboo. So I love Scadaboo as well. If you were able to trade for him earlier, be happy. If you can try to trade for him now, it is kind of buying high, but I think it might be worth the investment. I think Scadaboo is great. We'll move to wide receivers where I am sticking with my Denver Broncos here. I'm going with Cortland Sutton. A lot of things will be kind of harping on what I said about Dobbins. The matchup obviously is perfect, playing the Cincinnati Bengals at home on Monday Night Football. And with Sutton and Bo Nix, obviously in week 2, it wasn't pretty because Cortland Sutton had 1 catch for 6 yards, and people started freaking out. Maybe he's not as reliable as we expected. But then he bounced back in a big way with 6 catches on 8 targets for 118 yards and a score. And he is just the clear top guy for Bo Nix. And I think Bo Nix is going to continue to get better each and every week. And in this matchup at home, they're going to have a big game together. They lost a tough one here to the Chargers last week. They lost to the Colts the week before that. So they're in need of a big win, and they're going to get it here.
Yeah, Justin. I mean, what a connection that Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton have become. I mean, they are literally scoring every game. I mean, they're like a 1-2 connection there. I just feel like with this offense, Sean Payton has other receivers that just complement Sutton well. But like for the most part, he's the guy. It kind of reminds me just a little bit of Michael Thomas in his Saints days. It was just Michael Thomas and like other guys like Harris or like a Kenny Stitt, like just other guys that like work with him well in a way. And it's like a connection where he's always scoring a touchdown. It's like that's the guy that Bo Nix is always going to look for. And once again, just like Dobbins in this matchup against Cincinnati, I absolutely love it. Like they're going to run the football. They're going to throw the football. That's Sean Payton. He's a great offensive mind. I love it. The matchup is great in Denver, Cincinnati. It's awesome. For me, I'm going to go with George Pickens, and it kind of ties down to this Green Bay Cowboys matchup. It can go a couple ways, and guys, if you know me, you know I love Jared Goff at home, and you also know that I love Dak Prescott at home as far as quarterbacks. I know CeeDee Lamb he's going to be out this week, unfortunately, but I just think that regardless, the Cowboys could fall 13-17-0, and I do think this offense is pretty good enough to get a couple scores. And I do think that George Pickens is going to be involved in a lot of key drives, critical drives to kind of cut the deficit, right? I feel like maybe Green Bay can go up 21 to like 10 at half, right? Maybe like a third quarter, we're looking at a 27-17 game. Like, you can tell Cowboys are fighting. I think Dak is going to find George Pickens a lot. He's going to find a couple other Cowboys we might talk about a lot. Justin, I've got to give it to you. Javonte Williams is a score. I mean, guys, if you got him in the 10th or 11th round, I would like to start him as a great flex play. If you lost a Mike Evans or a Terry McLaurin or anything like that, Justin, for the week, you can start him, But anyways, I do love George Pickens. He was once upon a time, the number one guy in Pittsburgh. So
Right.
now he's going to go into this role with Dallas as the number one receiver.
Yeah, no, you stole the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say we've seen Pickens as an alpha wide receiver one. Yes, in Pittsburgh he was inconsistent, but I blame that more on like their scheme and them always being run first. Here they're gonna have to pass. You're right. I think the Packers are gonna get up big early, and Pickens is the guy now. CeeDee Lamb is out unfortunately, and it's gonna be Pickens and it's gonna be Jake Ferguson, and that's why I love Pickens here. And since we're already having the conversation about Cowboys pass catchers, I'll just kind of roll that into tight ends where I have Jake Ferguson as my start of the week. So we were both aligned there that we think the Cowboys are just going to have to throw the football. They're at home. They were embarrassed last week, and it's time to kind of lock into your guys. And last week, Jake Ferguson was Dak Prescott's guy. He had, 13 receptions on 14 targets for 82 yards. You never, ever see tight ends get that much volume. But Dak's got it. That's his new guy, the guy that he has to target because there's no CeeDee Lamb. You have Pickens, who is a really good player as well, and I think is going to do good in this game. But Ferguson's that guy when he's getting blitzed by Micah Parsons that he's going to have to check it down, find his guy on the flat, and it's going to be Jake Ferguson. He has been a really good, reliable player so far this season, so to me, he's a must start.
Yeah, Justin. Literally, Ferguson's has 32 targets. 32 targets through
Oh, yeah.
3 games. I mean, that is averaging almost 11 targets per game, and he's going to score. I mean, it's a little bit like the case of McBride last year where it took him like 15, 16 weeks to score, but he's going to score. I think he's going to score because he's going to be a guy that like Dak is going to look for to dump off passes. And with CeeDee Lamb being out, he's going to go up the depth chart. I mean, I think overall this is going to be a fun game to watch, and this is a matchup of the tight ends. It's Ferguson versus Kraft. They're two tight ends that have had some great matchups as we're talking about 2025, the first 3 weeks. So I love it. For me, Justin, I'm going to stay in Texas, and I'm going to go to my Houston Texans starting tight end, Dalton Schultz. I like what I've seen out of him. I think that with this offensive line being so bad, I just don't think CJ has time to throw deep shots. I mean, we saw Christian Kirk play last week, and it was just a lack of deep shots. The one deep shot that CJ did take to Nico, he scored like one of the very few. But I think Dalton Schultz here is a great tight end because he's great in short pass situations for CJ Stroud because you got to remember he's running for his life. He's going to dump off passes. It's against the Titans at home. So I feel really good about this. I really like Schultz as a red zone tight end as well. I think that the Titans have, I don't know, a defense that no one really knows about. So I feel like anybody can have a great day against them. And I think Schultz is a guy that besides Nico, CJ is going to target. It's kind of like the case here in Dallas. Like, it's CD's not there. And so Dax can go to Ferguson. I feel the same way. CJ is going to, look for Nico. He has trouble throwing with his offensive line. So that's why I feel like Schultz is going to get a lot of targets this week.
Yeah, I mean, Schultz obviously has the opportunity kind of laid out in front of him because Nico obviously is the main guy. But after that, like it's really up for grabs. I know Kirk returned, and I actually like him as a wide receiver play, as maybe a sleeper play this week, even a DraftKings cheap ad. But Schultz, man, it's just so tough to trust any Texans pass catchers. But this is the matchup that you would hope that it's going to happen for him. He always has a game or two every season, and maybe this is it. I have a hard time starting him in like a redraft league, but maybe DraftKings he's worth the cheap ad as well.
Yeah.
You can put him in your lineup and afford getting some bigger names. So Schultz is a very tough one for me. I do think that there's definitely possibility for him there. One little thing I'll throw into with Ferguson that I was talking about earlier, you mentioned 32 targets, which is phenomenal, but some people might not understand the magnitude of that. Well, if you look at it, the leading target getter in the NFL right now is Chris Olave at 37. Then there's Puka Nacua at 35. And then tied with Ferguson is Christian McCaffrey at 32. And so Ferguson is tied for third in the NFL in targets over Malik Neighbors, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jamar Chase, Drake London, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins. So, he is getting targets more than just about everybody in the NFL. So that's why I love Ferguson. You got Dalton Schultz. We like that. And we'll move to our sit of the week, our guys that we are just not looking forward to heading into week for the NFL season. Unfortunately, we both have guys that are on the same team after what we saw last week. It's not pretty, and I don't think it will be. And I have T. Higgins, and you have Chase Brown. T. Higgins, obviously, with Joe Burrow, I was really excited with it because of the ability to score touchdowns, be that guy in the red zone for him. But last week was just so ugly for Cincinnati. And I'm not going to say overreact and that they're going to be this bad every week, but this week you play the Denver Broncos on the road. It's just not a great matchup. You guys haven't looked good. And there's not a ton of hope I can really pick out from this team. And that's why I have T. Higgins as my sit.
Yeah, Justin, I have to agree with you there. I mean, I also obviously have a Cincinnati Bengal, and I do think like the Bengals offense is going to be, somewhat okay in the next couple weeks. They have some pretty decent matchups looking at it. But last week you play a top defense in Minnesota, you get pummeled. This week you're on the road again in Denver. Those are two really good defenses that for Jake Browning's level, he's just not there yet. I think in the future there are some good matchups at home with the Bengals, but as far as this week, I'm gonna just pump the brakes and just bench. There's much more options out there, in my opinion. If you have to start them, because like I said, you lost to Mike Evans, Malik Neighbors is questionable right now. Terry's probably not going to play. For me, Justin, we just had a trade where I got Chase Brown in a deal that I really like, but I'm really looking in that trade for the future of the season, like the rest of the season. But for this week in particular, for sure, these Bengals are going to be sour just again a little bit, but they'll be back. They'll be back this season. Brownie will get them right, and I'm not too worried about it going forward. But this week, I don't like the matchup. Monday night, you got to wait in a bad setting, bad road matchup. Defense is really good. I'm a pass on this one. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately with Chase Brown, surprisingly with how explosive we know he is as an athlete and as a player, we haven't seen it yet thus far in the season. 2 yards per carry in week 1, 2.9 in week 2, not even, he had 10 carries for 3 yards last week. It was just really ugly. He needs those receptions, and maybe with the pass rush that Denver's able to bring, he might, Browning might be able to check it down to Chase Brown a bit. But you're right. I think this week's just a little tough, and they'll bounce back. Next week they play the Lions at home, which I think could be a shootout. So we'll hope for better things, but this week we find it tough with our Cincinnati Bengals players, specifically T. Higgins and Chase Brown. We moved to kickers, right? Brandon McManus. I've talked about how I think the Packers are going to be able to score a bunch against the Cowboys. It's in a dome. I like McManus.
Yeah. Yeah. I like McManus. It's going to be in Dallas. There's going to be a lot of points scored. Jordan Love's going to be able to move the football and get him to that range. So I like it. For me, I like Jason Myers. I mean, last week, I promise you, Justin, every time I looked into Seattle game in red zone, I'd see Jason Myers lining up, kicking a field goal. He had 17 fantasy points last week. And I promise you, Justin, the amount of times I saw him on red zone, you think he'd had 47 fantasy points. But like, he was literally lining up. I don't know how many attempts he had on Sunday against the Saints. I know it's the Saints, but still like dang, like he was just getting a whole bunch of field goal attempts every time I looked at him. I like him. I like his matchup this week. And it is on a Thursday night. I know last week I didn't have a good Thursday night pick, but this one I think he's going to have a good game. It's in another close stadium in Arizona, so I'm not too worried about it. So yeah, give me Jason Myers as my kicker.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking to help you out here, and Myers had a total of 8 kicks last week. He had 3
Okay.
field goals and 5 extra points. And I'll just have to pat myself on the back here a little bit. He was my kicker start of the week
Oh,
last
really?
week, so it
Yes.
really worked out big time with Jason Myers. And I agree. I think Seattle's offense is actually like top 10. Like they're actually a really reliable team to at least get you in those field goal range. And against the Cardinals, who are not the best defense in the world, I think that they're going to be able to do it too. So I do like your pick there and Jason Myers. But Dween Nation, those are our starts and sits for week 4 of the fantasy football season. We're here to help you guys set your lineups, win your matchups, and win your fantasy football championships. If you want to kind of learn more about our rankings and our starts and stuff, go check out our TikTok and our Instagram. We are posting there multiple times a day. I know today we're going to pump out, or I guess by the time you're seeing this, tomorrow we're going to pump out some rankings, bold predictions, stuff along those lines to help you with your fantasy matchups. If you have questions, drop them below. But thank you guys for listening. And Genoa, send us out.
Yo, Dewey Nation. This was our starts and sits of week 4. This has been such a fun season so far. We're having a ton of fun. We're excited to go along the ride here. So we're so excited for week 4. Check out our other stuff. Check us out on TikTok. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. We love you guys. And as always, peace.